Hello, hello, and welcome to Airica on Air. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, and come chat with me. So today I have Nanny O here. We call her Nanny O. It's OLEIDA Clark, and she has been a part of our family. I was in 7th grade, and my family hired her to start cleaning our house. She came every other Thursday, originally. I think you ended up coming every week after that, didn't you, Nanny O?
Yes.
And my boyfriend, starting in 8th grade, was my now husband, and she was in his house 4 or 5 days a week. How many days did you work for them?
5.
5 days a week. This lady has always lived to serve others. I'm telling you, that is what I'm so excited about having her on here for you guys today, because I get to enjoy her and have for most all of my life. And she is just, to me, one of my very best friends and just a beam of light. But that's what Airica on Air is all about to me. It's about you guys getting to meet people that I think have enriched my life and hear stories from mentors and family members and friends that's meant so much to me, because I just love them so much. I want to share them with all of you. And I think they have things to share with you to bring enrichment and value to your life as well. And so today, Nanny O is going to share so many things about being a part of our life as I was growing up and as my husband was growing up. And she literally has helped me raise my children growing up. And then I want y'all to hear about how she was raised and brought up. So welcome today, Nanny O.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. I know you did not want to do this. She doesn't like to be in pictures. And y'all have all asked for me to have Nanny O on, because I talk about her all the time in my lifestyle page and business. And she's rarely in the photo. She'll say, no, she'll get out if I'm filming something. She asked me, now, was that being recorded when she walks through the house? But she's just such a special lady, as I said, to all of us. And honestly, not just to my family. She's a special lady in our whole community and to so many people that are not bloodline to her as well. She's got a great family of her own, but this lady's heart has just always been about serving other people. And that's what I can't wait to share with you guys today about her. So she started working, as I said earlier, for us when I was in 7th grade. She started cleaning the house, and just always sweet as could be. Honestly, I was a child in school at the time, so I didn't get to spend much time with her. She would come as I was gone. I would just come home to my bed being made and things all being tidied up and clean. But then with my husband, she would be at their house regularly. She pretty much was around the whole time he was growing up. Tell us about that, OLEIDA.
Well, I started cleaning for June and LG, and I didn't know what to call him, so I put him a name with it, Little LG, so they'd know exactly who I was talking about.
Because he was the fourth. My husband was the fourth.
But I've grown up with them too, and all their children, and now I've got their grandkids.
And they're your grandkids, I'll tell you.
Right.
They definitely think that they are yours. Now, she likes to tell stories about how she would find our love notes to each other.
Yes, every morning when I'd go down to make up little LG's bed, there would be a love note. I never read them, but if I had a knew what happened years ago, I would have kept them.
I wish you would have kept them too. The truth,
so I could have played them back to them.
I wish you would have too. The truth is, they may be somewhere in one of those garages, the way I keep everything.
That's probably true.
They're probably in one of my piles or buckets that's half broke, full of stuff I've stored over the years. Being so sentimental. I even have little notes from Nanny O. She'll leave little messages, and she'll say, thank you, I love you all, Nanny O. And I've got them like in little frames, or I've got them on the bulletin board and stuff. I'm just such a sentimental, and I love the little stuff from her. But I think it's full circle, because she used to see our love notes to one another, and now we got married and had our own children, and she leaves notes for my kids. And I just think it's the sweetest thing in the world.
Yes, for Anna Berkeley here a while back, I thought, well, I made a little scarf that you put on in the wintertime right with your coat to put over up around your neck or something. And I hid it in her bed underneath the pillow and had her little note on it. Well, I come back the next day, and there's the note. Hadn't even been moved. And I thought, well, she didn't even see that. So the next morning when she was getting ready to go to school, I said, Anna Berkeley, did you find something under your pillow? She said, no. And I said, you better go look. You've got something under your pillow. And she was so happy. She put it on and wore it to school that day.
Of course she did. Today I am wearing a top Nanny O made me. I had went to a incredible barn sale, which is coming up in our area again soon. And they have like vendors with antiques and boutiques and all kinds of things. And there's a lady there that made things out of old quilts. And I had bought this like vest from the lady that had made it over an old quilt. And I showed it to OLEIDA and I was like, you could totally do this. Like, this is so cool. But the neck was tied on it. And there was a few things that I thought, could be improved on it. And really just in conversation talking to her that morning. And I didn't think much about it. And, what do you expect? I've got one on right now that's just perfect. She made it out of a quilt herself. And I'm actually wearing it today. But our home is full of her treasures. She has made every one of my kids a throw. She's made every one a quilt. I got her a marker that she could write on them so that it stays permanently and leave them a message and sign them all. She has, so each one of us all have one of her quilts as well. There's little things of OLEIDA all over our house.
Well, I appreciate it and thank you. And I know that I'm getting the age I'm going to have to stop one day, but I don't know how.
No, I'm not going to let you. We've already told you that.
Oh.
So tell everyone, how old are you, Nanny O?
I'm 83.
And she runs circles around me, guys. She's at the house at 7 a.m., 4 days a week. And it started, let's go back to that. So we go off to college, my husband and I. And obviously, we didn't have a housekeeper, and we weren't back home. We didn't get to see Nanny O as much then. But she was always a part of our family's lives. And when we come back, we started our dental practice. We lived in the top of the dental practice, as I've talked about before. And I had my first child, Green, and we had went on our first trip like away with him, and the laundry was piled high at our apartment. I'm not so great at laundry. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. And so my mother-in-law surprised me and had asked OLEIDA to come to the house and clean all the laundry and clean the house and surprise me for when I got home from the trip. And I had said all along, now I'm going to do this. We're trying to work, save money. I'm not going to have a housekeeper. Well, that was the end of it. I saw her and how much she had helped that one time. And so she started coming and working a day a week or 2 days a week then with Green. And you've picked up a day with each child, hadn't you?
Yes.
So now she comes in Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m., and our family gets to start our day with her, and that's my absolute favorite part. Yes, she has the laundry done, and my husband likes to say whatever he wore to workouts at 5 a.m. is already washed and pressed and hanging or put back in the drawer. And yes, pressed. I said pressed because
Yes.
she irons everything, right, Nanny O?
Yes.
Not
I do.
because we demand it.
Because that's the way I was raised.
It's because that's the way she was raised. You're not going to have a wrinkly pillowcase with Nanny O. You're not going she irons every one of, as she says, little LG's white undershirts that he wears every day with his scrubs and everything. Like everything gets pressed with her. And my kids are spoiled rotten. They're not going to realize one day exactly how much they had. Everything always just ready for them because of her. She's kept us all. I'm spoiled rotten. She's kept us all in line.
I guess that when Anna Berkeley and Green gets married, I'll just have to stop and clean their house.
I guess so. I guess so. Or just add them to the list. You
Right.
don't get to leave us. I have to be able to see you every morning.
I told Green when he went to the prom, I said, Nanny O will go to the prom with you, but I'll have to wait, and I can't get inside your truck because it's so tall. I said, with a granny dress on, and they all laughed at me.
He's got a big lifted truck, don't he?
Yes, he does.
His mama can barely get into it, too.
I know. It's
So
real
if
high.
you do get in it, getting in's not the issue. It's getting out.
Getting
Just
out.
slide out. It hurts, especially if you've got some heels on. I had to catch a ride with him the other Sunday, and I hadn't thought about that in advance. And I was like, goodness, this is horrible trying to get out of this truck with my dress clothes on, my Sunday dress and heels. And he thinks it's funny.
Yes, he thinks it's funny, but it's not.
It's not.
He'll realize that when he gets old, like me.
But the kids have been excited about Nanny O doing this too. They said, Mom, we'll have that forever. And I was like, I know, guys, we will. Like that, she genuinely is so special to us. She shared so much with me through the years and mentored me, and we've went through heartaches together and celebrations and decorating and holidays like crazy, right?
Right.
And if I've ever been hosting something, I don't even have to ask her. She'll immediately say, what can I help you do, Airica? She makes the best homemade yeast rolls you've ever had. Everybody in our town wants Nanny O's bread. She does bread. She does yeast rolls. She has my kids' frozen sausage balls in the freezer already done for them to pop in the oven all the time. I mean, spoils them absolutely rotten. Homemade cinnamon rolls. She made just this past week, we had for dinner dressing, because I love dressing. And she said, I got you a pan of dressing in the refrigerator now. Now, I mean, I'm telling you, she is so thoughtful, thinks of everything, and is always doing for someone else. She's always taken to people's house when there's a funeral, taking them food. There's just that southern side of you. There's not many of you around anymore, Nanny
No.
O. Not many people do that much anymore.
No, they don't.
But tell us about how you grew up, where you grew up at, and how it was when you were a child.
Well, when I was growing up, we had to walk to school, no school buses, and school days was never canceled if it snowed. Everybody went to school every day. And I was raised up in what a community, they called it Iverton, and there was a school named Joppy. And that's where we all went, and there was about 4 or 5 families of us, and it was just a one-room, first grade through 8, and we all sit in rows, like first grade, second, third, fourth, and everybody was in one row, and we all had good times, and we'd walk to each other's home and play cards, rook, and pop popcorn, and had a good home life. But now kids don't do that anymore. It's just not one of those things that they do. They get in their cars and drive, and we walked.
That's right. You know, the simple life.
I had a simple life, and it was a wonderful life.
Yes, you know, and that's what you hear. You hear everyone, they don't complain about having to walk. The memories they have from it are just wonderful.
Right.
You know, you felt like you got to talk to people, you got to take in the fresh air, you got to experience things that I don't think we even stop to smell the roses for anymore, you know?
No, we were putting out a garden yesterday. We've got new neighbors that's from New Jersey, and he was talking about he could remember his grandma making kraut. And I said, well, did your parents ever dig a hole in the ground and put straw, and they'd put their potatoes out there, and then they'd put cabbage and apples or anything they had that would keep, they put in that hole, and then if they wanted it, they'd go out and take the dirt off and the straw, and there it'd be. And he said, yes, ma'am, I did. He said, my grandpa always did that. And I said, now we all put it in a can or don't even have it. Not many people will make a garden and raise vegetables and can it like we do.
So I haven't heard this. I've never heard of that. So did you line the hole with anything, or was it just the vegetables were laying just on the red clay dirt?
On straw.
You put the straw down first.
Put a straw down first, and then you'd put your potatoes and your cabbage and your apples and anything you had that would not keep inside your house. Because then we all just had wood stoves or a fireplace, and it was not really a warm house, you know, when it got real, real cold. But we all had plenty of quilts. We never had any trouble of staying warm.
So people would go out and dig that up, and once you dug it up, did you have to take everything out at once?
No.
You could take one thing
what
and cover
you
it
wanted
back up?
and then cover it back up with that straw and then put your dirt on top of it,
And it would stay just like it was.
just like it was,
How long would that have stayed?
until spring,
Really?
until it was time for people to put out gardens again.
So you could put like whole ears of corn and everything in there?
Yes.
I did not know that.
That's how a lot of people kept their vegetables.
That's cool. OLEIDA has a great garden. You don't garden as much as you used to, do you? But
No, not as much as we used to, but we still have a garden.
yeah, I kind of forgot that. I've got canned green beans and corn. Her corn is the best. My kids are spoiled. They think that's what they're supposed to have every time they have corn. And I told her the other day, she said, I brought you 3 things of corn for you guys to have with your dressing. And she said, I don't know if you want to fix all 3 at once. And I said, are you kidding? With the teenage boy, Green eats it up like it's a bowl of ice cream. He just sits and eats the corn as a meal.
He told me the other day, he said, that's the best corn I've ever had.
No
And I
doubt.
said, honey, I appreciate that. I love you.
He loves Nanny O's corn. He does.
Yeah.
So they're definitely my kids. You have left on memories, items, taste, smell. That you have definitely left your mark on all of our lives. That is
Well,
for
I
sure.
hope so.
You have, on not just our lives, on tons of lives, but you definitely have left your imprint on our family's life. And so many people are always asking me too, how do you do it? How do you do it this? How do you do that? How do you do everything? As OLEIDA likes to tell me, Airica, you got too many irons in the fire.
Right.
She tells
You
me,
need to stop
she tells me all the time, you're
some
going
of
to have
it.
to stop some of it, Airica. But I can do it because of people like her. My mom and grandmother were just so good to always help me, and OLEIDA is just, that's how I can do it, because she's right there taking care of the things that's the most important at home for me, so that I can be out and do some of this other crazy stuff in the busy world we have today.
Well, I've enjoyed every minute of it, though.
Well, good. I'm glad. Hopefully we're not too hard.
I hope so, too.
Wait, but tell me then, so when you were in the one-room schoolhouse, which is another thing I find so fascinating, because we grew up where you had, a minimum of 3 to 5 classes per grade, and those were packed full of kids. And so I find that so cool, the one-room schoolhouses. My grandmother, she would talk about that too, because she went to Wendell, which was a one-room schoolhouse, and she said that I always wondered how the first graders learn the same time as seventh graders learning. But she said, you learn things by helping the other one. She said, like the older kids learn responsibility by helping the younger ones, and the younger ones learn respect from the older ones.
Yes, you did.
And that is another thing that is just, it's not, there. You can't teach that. It's not taught today.
No. And everyone took their lunch, and they had a frame built for each grade, put their lunch every day. Because then, you didn't have anything like lunchrooms. We all just took our lunch, and everybody went outside and played at the same time. Even the teachers that we had would go out on the playground and play basketball with us.
That is so special.
And we had a basketball goal and played different games. We'd play kick the can or anything. It was
Ball.
really nice.
We were talking about cut ball yesterday with our kids, and one of my husband's old babysitters was at something my daughter and I were at, and she was saying, your dad and I, we used to always play cut ball. And my daughter just looked at her, and she said, yes, honey, you heard me right. It was a cup, and you actually crushed the cup, and you shaped it like a ball, and you would play cut ball with it.
Yeah.
And again, it's like you just like beg of that simple life that you guys had.
Right.
How awesome that must have been.
Now, I guess little G's brother was the one that loved me the most, because he was always calling me, Nanny O, do you have my shirt? I need my shirt. I'd take it home with me in Arn, and 9 times out of 10, he would lose his shirt.
He was always needing something you had.
And so Green did me that way the other day, and I thought, oh, my goodness, here we go again.
Here we go. Green did me that way the other day, too, because he'd left his baseball uniform in his truck until 20 minutes before the ball game. And it had red clay dirt on it and everything. And I didn't have you there because it was late in the evening. So I was going to town with that jersey, trying to get it clean and dried enough for him to get there. Of course, it's bright white, and we've got red clay dirt baseball field. But all LG and his sister and his brother loved growing up with you. My brothers loved having you in their life growing up. And I don't know. I'm not going to give Wesley credit for loving you the most, though. I'm going to give him the credit for blaming you when things were missing.
Yes. Yeah, he was always calling something about missing.
My kids like to pick at each other as to which one's your favorite.
Yes.
They want to know. Green thinks he's the favorite, and Anna Berkeley, and John Crew knows he is. So
John Crew knows he is, don't he? They accuse me of it, but I don't. I don't favor them. I love them all. But now John Crew, he's just a little bit different than Anna Berkeley and Green.
He is. He's special for sure.
I started to leave yesterday to go home, and he come to the door 3 times and hollered, Nanny O, I love you, I love you, I love you. He is just so sweet.
He is. He does. He loves you so much.
And me and him's got a little saying that we do every day when I leave.
Yes.
And I hope he don't never forget it.
He will never forget it. I promise you that. He will not. So tell us, so you grew up going to Joppy, and then you tell us about getting married and your kids and grandkids.
Well, I've been married 65 years, and we had 3 daughters, and now we've got 5 grandchildren, three boys and 2 boys and 3 girls, and then we've got just both of my daughters made nurses. 2 of them did, and then I've got a granddaughter that's a pharmacy, and then I've got a grandson that's in Virginia Tech going for pre-med. Hopefully, I'll be here when he graduates.
I know you've been so proud. He declared he was going to be a medical doctor about the time he was in kindergarten, didn't he?
Since he was 2 years old, he said, "I'm going to be a doctor."
He never swayed from that.
No.
I know you've been so proud. It's been neat watching, and she would tell me, when he was getting different places to go for interviews and things like that. She keeps up with it. Now, when he comes in from med school, what's his dish he asks for?
Mostly fried apples.
Fried apples.
He loves fried apples.
Her fried apples are good. Now, she also cans fried apples, don't you?
Yes. For apple pies.
Yes, I got some of that in my pantry too. She has a little bit of all of it, all the special stuff.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing that my mama canned that I never have done. And I don't really know how to do it because I don't know how many hours that needs to be boiled. But we come home from school and Mama would can corn in a half-a-gallon can. And we'd always have that. She'd have it opened and we'd eat that corn. And it was so good.
Was it cut off the cob or was it
No,
whole?
it was on the cob. She would break it in 3 pieces, the ear of corn, and cram them down in that and then fill it up with water and cook it so many hours outside in a lard can or a kettle, anything they had that they could
Really?
put on top of a fire, they would have that, and that's how they would can it. But they say that you're not supposed to do that anymore, that it's not good, but I would love to have my mama's corn.
How
It
she
was
did
so
it.
good.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So I'm trying to get Nanny O to write all this stuff down for us, how these home remedies and canning and how you do so many of her recipes that she has that's so special to all of us. I said that needs to be our project, get all those.
I hope someday I'll make a little cookbook so my great-grandkids will have something to go from.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
I've got 3 great-grandsons and 1 great-granddaughter, and I'm very proud of them.
She loves all her family so much. So many people have asked me before, because I talk about you all the time and brag on you, and they'll say, is her daughter's okay with that? And I said, are you kidding? She's one of my best friends. She's their mama. She's one of my best friends. Yes, they are. I'm all the time messaging your girls in a group and telling them, thank you for sharing your mama with me.
Yeah.
Because you've always been great to us. And OLEIDA's youngest daughter, Penny's pretty special to me, too.
Yeah, she always goes with me on Wednesday to because her and John Crew are big buddies.
Yeah, they are. She spends Wednesdays, and some in the summer she'll spend the day with us after OLEIDA leaves in the morning. Then she'll spend the rest of the day with us as well. But Nanny O, I just wanted to share how special you are to all of us and how much that we love you. Your family loves you too. They've been excited about you doing this.
Know.
And friends and everyone alike. And my children this morning, they knew we were coming and they were excited about it. And they said, Mom, they have messages. I've got to get my phone out for you that I'm supposed to tell you from them. And so I'm going to read it directly from each one of them. And from Green, he says to Nanny O, I've always been blessed with amazing grandparents and great-grandparents, and I've never seen you differently than my own blood grandparents. You're a huge inspiration to me and someone I cherish greatly. I love you more than you know. And Anna Berkeley says to Nanny O, I love you lots, and I'm so glad that I get to grow up knowing you. She asked me what it was like to be on the outside looking in at watching them all grow up together. Nanny, I want to ask you a few questions too.
Okay.
So what do you think the word family means to you?
Family is everything because when you lose your family, you feel like you've lost everything. But you can always ask a family member to help you, and they're there to help. And always, if you need help, don't be ashamed to ask someone to help you.
I think sometimes people like to be needed too.
Right,
You know, it makes them feel like they can do something to help because they know they're going to need it when they need help also.
right. And your neighbors, they will help you anytime. I can remember when we were growing up, if someone passed away, they got in the mules in the wagon and they went and got their neighbors to go dig the grave to bury people. And now, neighbors don't seem like has that time for people anymore.
Right. You're right. Because nowadays, just even getting someone to be at the visitation, sometimes they feel like their life's too busy for that.
Right.
And we never even think about the fact that we could have been digging the grave ourselves or helping with the body. And they did all the meal for it too, didn't they?
Absolutely.
Neighbors and everybody would come together for it.
Everybody would come together for it.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
like yesterday, me and Danny was trying to put the garden out. And we had a neighbor that came and helped. Has moved across the road from us from New Jersey. And here we was, and he came to help.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to people. They don't realize how much that means to you.
I've been so excited about y'all getting your new neighbors.
Yes, we have.
They are God sent. Y'all have got good
Yes.
new neighbors. That is wonderful. So, if you were to leave wisdom to young moms today just starting their family, what's some wisdom? What's some things that you would like for them to take?
Always take care of them and every need they need. If they want to sit down and talk to them because sometimes they don't feel like they have that. And it's just one of those things that you really need to do
With your children?
with your children because first thing you know, they're out of school and they're gone away from home.
It really is.
And
quick,
you
isn't it?
surely do miss them when they leave.
Well, you know, when you think about it, just those 18 years at home is just a short little span of your life. isn't it?
Right. And like I was thinking when I made Green's bed up this morning, I thought, one more year and he'll be gone.
Don't
And I won't
remind
be
me.
making up his bed. And you just don't realize that until they all leave. And then you think, we didn't have the time we thought we did.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But then again, you made my bed up when I was young, and you thought you were done, and
I thought I was done, but I ain't. I still do it.
you're still making it up, right?
But kids don't realize things like, I guess we did because we didn't have things like they did. We didn't have a car and go to town to get you something to eat. We had whatever we had on the table and we ate. And kids are not like that now. And I wish they could see some things that we growed up with. And I think they would be more thankful.
You're right. Grateful.
Yes.
What's some things about your relationship? You and your husband. You said y'all have been married for, 65 years. So what's some things that you think help in a relationship, in your marriage, that's made it work all these years? What's some things you think that you rely on him for and that Danny relies on you for?
Well, I think you just have to be honest with them and never think that things would go astray, and it's hard, and it's hard raising a family nowadays, I think. But he had bird dogs and he hunted, but he'd always bring the guns in and he'd say, now girls, don't touch this gun. He said, I think I've unloaded it, but sometimes I might forget. And always, things like that. And now kids have more opportunities for things, than my kids did. Like they would get out and help us put out the garden. Like Renee, my oldest daughter, she said, let me put out the onion sets. Well, of course, we were busy doing other stuff and never paid any attention. She'd put them upside down. So we had to go back and fix them.
But it was worth it.
Right, but it was worth it, and we still talk to her about it, and we all have fun about it.
Yeah.
And of course, I've told her grandkids about it now, and they'll say, Nay, did you do that?
Isn't it funny that you make your memories when you're not trying?
Yes, you do.
That's some of the best memories is the ones that just happen. If you ever try to make it something special and make a memory out of it, that's not what sticks.
No, it ain't. And like, we'd have family dinners, everybody'd get together and eat, and it now don't seem like family sits down and has time for each other.
That is just so important too.
It is important.
I feel like I fail at so many things, and our life is so busy in so many directions. But that is one thing I've tried to keep a priority of, is that we sit down as a family and eat.
And eat.
Because to me, that really is what was my security growing up, was those family meals.
Right.
When I think of happy at my grandparents or at home, it seems to always be in the kitchen. It was around the kitchen table, or it was the sitting area right at the kitchen. It's just, it's not on purpose, and it really wasn't even the food. That's not what comes to my mind when I think of it. It's just us all together in the kitchen.
And everybody talking and having a good time.
Yes, even during the time preparing the meal. Some of my favorite times with my granny was as a young adult, as a young mom and, newly married, would be getting there an hour before we were going to have our Monday night dinners and letting her help me learn how to make her cornbread and how she mashed her potatoes and things like. That's some of my favorite, was when it would just be she and I in the kitchen. That's what, if I could just get some more of that time back. Girls, if you're listening and you can be with your grandmother more, or your mom for those moments, soak it up.
Take advantage of it, because it'll be gone before you know it.
You are right. That you soak it up. What about what's some wisdom and some things you'd love to leave for your grandkids and great grandkids to remember?
I want them to always remember that I loved them, and if they came to me for something, I was always there for them.
Mm-hmm. Just knowing you were always present for them.
Always present.
Yeah, supporting them. Yeah.
And pick up a phone and call someone or a friend that's sick and say, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there anything I can do to help you? Always win a helping hand, and always be there for them.
I'll tell you something you've taught me that you didn't even know you were teaching me. You are so good about going and seeing someone in the hardest times when other people don't want to go, OLEIDA. You've always, when someone's on their last days, the last weeks of life, you'll be leaving my house and saying, well, I'm going to see this one or I'm going to see that one. And it's not comfortable in those moments.
It's not.
It's hard on you. It's hard on them. It's hard for the people around. It's uncomfortable. It really is. But you have always done that and let them know you love them and support them. I've always said that about you. And then when it came time with like my grandmother, you did. You came right there and wanted to visit with her before she was gone, knowing it was her last days. And that's stuck with me. I've tried to be better about doing that because I've seen you do it.
Well, there was 6 of us in my family, 2 boys and 3 girls, and there's 3 girls left. Is all that's left. We gave up all the other ones, but always be there for them. If they say we need something, do it. Mm-hmm. You think, I don't have the time, but you do have the time.
That siblings for your kids is one of the best gifts you can ever give them.
Right.
You guys that's another thing. It was the simple life in a way, but for your parents, it wasn't always, because they were raising so many kids and they, had the worry of providing for those kids. Right. But my grandmother too, they were 1 of 12, and y'all were just weeks apart in age. That's why I refer to my granny a lot with Nanny O, because they were just weeks apart in age. And she was 1 of 12, and there's not many of them left anymore either. There's 4 of them of the 12, and man, they were there for each other. And if somebody was sick in the hospital, well, there wasn't a waiting room big enough for all of us, because we were always there, and especially in the times of need.
Right. And that's what I think is so important now for families. Always be there to help them if they need you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because time comes that they're not going to be there, and you need it, and you miss them.
Right.
And you think, well, I'd love to ask my mama about that. And now I can't.
Right. Right.
Especially like recipes. Of course, we didn't have measuring cups. Mama just say, put a cup of sugar. And that's what my kids tell me now about my chocolate pies. Mama, write that down. Well, I done it just like Mama did. And, you used a teacup to measure.
Yeah.
And now you have measuring cups, but it don't measure the same as a teacup did.
You know what? There was a gentleman sits behind me at church, and just this week he was talking about. He said, "Now I've got my cornbread down," and he said, "Now I take a cup and I just take a knife and I make sure I clean it all the way across." And I said, "A cup?" And he said, "Yeah, my cup." And his daughter looked at me and said, "It's a teacup."
Yeah,
She said,
it's a teacup.
"Yeah, it stays in the cornmeal. It's
Yes.
a teacup's what he's talking about." Yeah.
And of course, my parents always, killed hogs in the wintertime and we'd can the meat, but our mamas would never let us rent a lard because she said if you put a drop of water in it, it'll catch on fire. So you all can't do that, and that's one thing our mama never would let us do was rent the lard.
What is something you I know you've got a really nice connection with your mother-in-law, and I think that's really special. I've been blessed with a great mother-in-law too, and a lot of people don't realize that it's a gift. They're not trying to replace your mom. They're a gift. When you get married, you don't just get your spouse, you get the whole family, and that's a blessing. And you need to realize and appreciate it. But you loved your mother-in-law, Mama.
I love Mama May. She was just like my mama to me. If she went to town and bought a washcloth, she bought Mama. She always brought me one back each time. And when she got cancer, I quit work and took care of her till she passed away. And that's when I didn't go back to the shirt factory and work. I started cleaning houses.
Yeah, after Mama.
After Mama May passed away.
And you took care of your father-in-law too, didn't you?
Yes, and I took him for trips. He had cancer too. So she had 2 boys. She never had a girl. So
she loved having her daughter-in-law.
She loved my 3 girls really, and was really good to them.
And you've always been good too to your son-in-laws. And
yes.
What's some advice you have for people about the in-law side of life? I like to call it in love because I think the way I look at it, my perception is you get that family because of being in love with someone. So I like to call mine my mother-in-love or my father-in-love because that's how I gained them. But what is some advice to have that good relationship with them?
Well, I've always told them if they needed me, I would be there for them. Mm-hmm. And we have got 2 great son-in-laws and would do anything on earth we asked them. They would be there to help us.
Mm-hmm. I think the key is my mother and my mother-in-law have been they don't make a difference. There's no difference to them. I know my husband's mom, she's always been so precious to me, and my father-in-law. But my mom, she is so careful about it. Even the holidays, she wants to make sure she gets her son-in-law the same thing she gets her son. To the point that we tell her, you're stressing about this entirely too much. One person might need a weed eater and the other one might not. But she wants to get them the exact thing because she wants to make sure she always keeps things even.
Right.
But it is, I think that girls in particular I've seen need to embrace the relationship with a mother-in-law instead of being so hard on them. It's going to be different because it wasn't your mother and it wasn't the way you were raised.
Right.
But you can adapt to the opportunity to even get to see new ways of life and new ways, perspectives on raising a child and cooking this dish or that dish. And I don't know. I think I tell people a lot that my perception on my mother-in-law, I'd been married for 7 years before we had our first child. I always loved her. She was my teacher and I always wanted to grow up and be like Miss Puckett. But when I held my son in the hospital and I was looking down at him, I don't know what it was. It's just in that moment, I was going to be a mother-in-law one day. And you just see them different.
You see them different.
You do. Once you have children of your own, and you just see it different completely. And I try telling young moms when they're talking or they're being really picky about things that their mother-in-law does, and I say, listen, you just need to be so grateful that you have a mother-in-law that's so sweet and loves you, because it is a huge addition to a family.
Right.
And can be such a blessing like Mom May was to you.
Yes. When we had our first child, whenever they got big enough to know to go for Christmas, she'd always hide them money in the Christmas tree. And we do that today. We hide the little ones money that they have to find in the Christmas tree.
So they'll have those same memories.
Same memories that my kids have grown up with.
When it comes to your marriage or raising your children or talking about your in-laws, our kids are learning from us.
Right.
They're learning from how we treat our spouses, how we raise them, and how we talk about our in-laws.
That,
How they're gonna treat theirs one day, or how they're going to be treated.
right. And you never know what the kids are. You think, well, they're not listening to us, but they always are listening, and they will come back and tell you that one day.
Yeah, you're right.
That I heard you tell Daddy,
This
or
or
I
that.
heard you tell Mama.
Or they'll worry about something that they overheard that you didn't even know that they
Right.
knew. You know, that ended up being a worry to them.
Uh-huh. If it's something sad, don't say it where your children are, so they won't worry about it.
These kids today have enough on their own.
Right.
So, what do you think it was like? Like, what's it been like watching them? She's been there literally from bringing them home from the hospital, the passies, cleaning the bottles. She's done it all.
I've done it all, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. And they're just so kind to me. They never leave of a morning when I'm there, and they always tell me, "I love you, Nanny O."
They do.
And I love that too. I love them. They're all sweet.
Well, thank you so much for all you've always done for us.
Okay.
Your
thank you, hon.
inspiration and for always serving others and putting everybody first. She's had several jobs in her life, and she's left different jobs just to help serve someone else. She's left jobs to take care of her father-in-law and family members that's been sick, and left good paying jobs because she wanted to be there for them in their time of need. And it shows. Your heart
Yes.
really does show, Nanny O.
I took care of my mother-in-law. She had cancer, and she was sweet, but she was always just like my mama to me.
Mom May, right?
Mom May. She was Mom May.
She talks about Mom May like I feel like I talk about Nanny O.
Yes. She was sweet.
I think she rubbed off on you.
Yes.
As John Cruz said, to tell you, a bushel and a peck and a hug around the neck.
Right.
Thank you, Nanny O.
You're welcome, hon. I love you.
I love you.